welcome everyone, and thanks so much for joining today's webinar on how to build a standout brand for CPG products so you can stand out online. This has been, as we all know, kind of a closing month as a whirlwind of a year. It's December. I think all of us are ready for 2020 to be finalized and on to 2021, but we still have no idea what's going to happen over the next couple days, weeks, months, year anyway. But one thing that we have seen definitely take hold in our space is this weird transition shift between retail and e-commerce, which is actually really exciting. So, right, e-com shopping for food and bev has lagged behind other sectors for forever. And with the pandemic happening, people shopping from home, obviously a lot more people are discovering brands and discovering products and shopping for them online. And this is going to be a trend that's going to continue on, for the foreseeable future, now that a lot of people are comfortable doing so. But that also brings up a lot of other issues, from how do you stay relevant? How do you build relationships with customers online? How do you get product to them without them being able to trial or sample it in person? And so, that's what today's conversation is really about, is how do you build a brand that can stand out in all the noise that's going on? And for that conversation, I'm really happy to have Christina Downey from Milkademia and Jax Feathers from Hello Water join us for this conversation, along with John Galetka and Alex from Galetka Plus. So what I'd love to do is just have our panelists give a quick introduction, and then we'll jump right into it. So Christina, how about we start with you?
Sure. Hi, Christina Downey. I'm the CMO of Milkademia. I've been here for about 2.5 years. Prior to that, I spent a long time in agency world, both from a digital brand, advertising, promotion, you name it, and as well as some time at Abbott from a global perspective, doing work.
Awesome. Jax?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jax Feathers. I'm the marketing director for Hello Water. I've been here since before we even had a product. So I started with the team from the get-go. And in my past, I own a boutique marketing agency that focuses on social media management and consulting, as well as experiential. Kind of me.
Awesome. John and Alex?
All right, and now a word from your sponsor. So guys, yeah, really, I'll keep this really simple. A lot of the ways that I learned about marketing as a marketer was working with really, really strong marketers and pioneers and great branders. And a lot of times it's really hard to get those people in front of people because they're not out speaking in the circuit, they're doing the work and moving these brands. So today we've freed up a couple of who I think are some of the best brand and just general performance marketers in the space. So we're really excited to take advantage of this time and learn from them. And just like we do every day, it's a fairly fluid business. And then I just want to say thank you to Alex on our team who organized this, partnered with Jordan, and has really spearheaded this effort. And one of our company missions is just giving back to the community in smart ways and helping them out. So I'm going to hand it off to Alex, and he'll say a few words, and then we'll get going.
Hi, I'm Alex Dodieri from Galetka Plus. You'll see me doing the client strategy and biz dev side of things over there. To John's point, we're really happy to be partnered with Jordan and Food Bevy and providing whatever resources we can to all the members. That's the nature of our arrangement. With this will come a steady stream of content coming to all of you across different forms. Could be articles that we've written, it could be case studies of jobs that we've done for businesses that are applicable to yours. It could even be some commercials that we've shot. So the idea is to take our experience, give it to you so that you can help build your company in the best and most efficient way possible. So thank you very much. And
definitely appreciate it. And I mean, the work that John and Alex does is really great. And that's one of the reasons I brought them in. So being a founder myself, I've worked with a number of consultants and agencies and different groups in the past. And so I've worked with a lot of bad groups and some that are really great. And so, that's one thing I want to do is bring really great talent to these conversations to help you so that you can hear from the experts in the space. So let's kick it off. And I want to start with you, Christina. So tell us a little bit about what the transition was like for Milkademia through the pandemic and kind of where you settled now in terms of how you're now using digital and online to stand out in a different way than maybe before the pandemic.
Sure. So it was right before St. Patrick's Day, right? And we were like, well, you should probably start working from home. That was a Friday. That Monday, everything came to like a screeching halt in our company, and all eyes were on Amazon. Our sales, I would say within a week, tripled on Amazon, and we were out of stock everywhere. If you remember, everything was flying off the shelves. And so we had retailers calling at the same time. Amazon was just going crazy, and we had to sit and go, all right, something needs to shift. And so, I think there were a lot of conversations we had and of, what do we bring in? What do we, do we do e-com ourselves? Do we continue with our e-com partners? For us, we decide to continue with e-com partners versus pulling it in. Small team, there are lots of conversations and we can go more in depth about that. But it was changing focus pretty, I wouldn't say radically, but there was some shift in focus, right? The brand is the brand, and always staying core to who the brand is instead of going back and forth with how trends go. You want to be clear on who you are, but we did need to pivot some of the dollars and some of our efforts. We started for the first time working with companies like Instacart, going in deeper with Kroger Promoted or 84.51 online. So there was a big shift in that terms, and then trying to just keep up with forecasting. I think that was, you always think about the marketing end of things when you hear these, but forecasting for us was a bit of a snarl. Actually, I don't know a great word. It was very difficult because, while all this was going crazy, how long were people going to be, quarantined? How long were people going to be doing pantry loading? It went from the death of the center of the store, which is what you heard for, 5, 10, 15 years, like the center of the store is just dying, don't be in there, to all of a sudden the center of the store was all sold out. And the perimeter was there, right? Because people were stocking up on pantry items. And if they couldn't find them in the store, they were going online. So it was great that we were shelf stable. And for us, we got a lot of trial during that time frame. And then how do we capitalize on the trial?
I love that. And definitely a big shift in that transition along the way. There are a couple nuggets in there I'll dive into a little bit later. But Jax, how about you for Hello Water? What did that time period look like?
Yeah, so this whole year has been, a big change for everyone. And for us, our biggest change was we had focused a lot on retail and more traditional methods of getting trial with like sampling and events and all of that. Pandemic hits, clearly we cannot meet in person anymore. And we really decided to use this time to build our own e-commerce. It had been something we wanted to do, and we really took the dive into doing our own e-com. So we built it out ourselves. We started with one platform just to get it kind of up and running. And then as we were working through it, we've had some trials of different partners, and we ended up on a Shopify platform right now. And so in the last 6 months, we've really just, built the e-com, focus on getting it out there, getting people to know that we even have it because it's so new for us. So we've done a lot of like influencers and really like press on the digital space with social media and creating some new content pieces that really focus on driving trial through our e-commerce. And then we do also sell on Amazon. So like Christina said, yeah, Amazon sales did go up. So it's always great to have, a good Amazon and a good e-com, but e-com right now is our biggest focus, especially moving forward with the unknown of 2021.
I love that. So Jax, before this, I know you guys were considering, how to build out e-commerce and what that would look like for Hello Water. So talk a little bit about what your original plans were and then how you had to transition.
Yeah, so originally we found a nice partner. We were going to build, do everything from, it was kind of like a big project where we were going to bring in someone who kind of could help us a lot and get it from, the ground up, redo our entire website, do, have it very SEO focused and, very just like done high end. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, we did cut some budgets, and so we did it on a budget, which I think is fine. Especially we consider ourselves still a startup. So on that, so we decided to start with WooCommerce, which was great, and it worked with our third-party warehouse. So it plugged in really nicely. We got that all set up and running. We were able to do it ourselves. And get kind of like our feet wet into it. A few months after we launched that, we did decide to switch it over to Shopify. And we also switched a warehouse partner that worked with Shopify. So everything Shopify had always been our goal. WooCommerce was like the stepping stone there, which helped us too. So it worked out. But yeah, we like Shopify for now. And we were able to do it ourselves, which we were also impressed with trying to figure it out. That was a learning curve too, like teaching ourselves how to do all of this instead of outsourcing it. So.
And both of you have beverages. They're heavy, they're bulky. Talk about how that's kind of played into challenges with e-commerce.
For us, it's definitely a challenge in terms of chargebacks because if something leaks, we get hit with a lot of chargebacks. So one of the things is, when you stack, for us at least, when you stack too many pallets on top of each other, it'll smush and leak, and we have no control. So that is the nice thing about having your own e-commerce platform. You have much more control. Once it leaves us, and it's in Amazon's hands, it's in Amazon's hands. So working through a lot of the logistics with that, and then obviously because it's heavy shipping costs, right? So when we were looking at, do we do it ourselves or do we have, Amazon? For us, the shipping, like we could never beat Amazon, right? And because it's just too expensive to ship. It is a heavy product. And that is one of the things that weighed into our decision.
How about for you, Jax? Any specific things that came up?
Yeah, no, water is super heavy. It's expensive to ship water, but we've been able to work with having a warehouse that also ships for many other brands and other things. They have a lower shipping rate, so we were able to tap into their shipping rate to get it to consumers, faster on a schedule that's like Amazon. Because people are now expecting the 2-day shipping, whether that's realistic or not, who knows, but that's what people expect. So we were able to tap into their shipping rates, which has helped us get product to consumers faster, like Amazon. But in general, yes, water is expensive to ship it, especially across country.
Yeah. And let's dive a little bit into some of these platforms. So I use Amazon and have a Shopify site for T-Squares, my own business. And it's a big debate, I think, for a lot of brands of, do you focus on Amazon and other third-party platforms? Do you build out your own e-commerce site? And a lot of us have both. And then on there, like, how do you develop and allocate your resources to either? So how have both of you managed that kind of dilemma?
Managed, that's a great word. I would love to say we've been able to manage that great.
I didn't say solved.
Yeah. With shoestring and a Scotch tape, I would say, like Jackson, we're also still consider ourselves a startup. We're a team of 8 people, even though we're about 20 million in sales. And so it is catch as catch can in terms of allocating resources to it. And it's kind of spread out. It is one of the areas, though, that we've pegged for 2021 where, okay, you can only, Scotch tape things so long and things start bursting through. And I think, 2021 is when we're going to really look at allocating a dedicated resource, because I think it's needed. And it not just, we use We use a Amazon broker for Amazon, but they're just focused on Amazon. And I think it's important to not just look at Amazon, but, okay, what's going on with Walmart.com? What's going on at Target? What's going on? We work with Thrive Market. It's a big natural one. So what's going on with Thrive? What's going on with all the, retailer banners? We're in over 15,000 retailers, and we need turns there and support there. And they're all moving digital, right? So you need someone to look overall as well as, at the individuals. And clearly it's something we need to focus more on in 2021.
So Christina, I mean, that's kind of interesting. So Amazon's obviously a big one. People talk about also Shopify, but what's been your experience with some of those other partners from Walmart to Target to even some of the other stores? Like, are you seeing significant business there, or is it like fledgling? Is it something you have to be part of, but it's not really moving the needle?
I think we have to be a part of it. And to be honest, we're not a part of it where we should be. Walmart.com, we have things up there, but we have not invested the time and energy to really, I think, move the needle. That's incumbent on us. And that is something that actually this month I'm making a change there to do that. I think it's important, again, we're in all these retailers and we need to hit the turns, and they're moving more digital. If you're going to be with the retailer and you're going to be their partner, you need to also be there for their digital too. So I've seen great success with Instacart, and that's something we'll continue, and we're taking that learning to Shipt, and then we're going to take that learning to some of the others. So there is learnings that you can take overall, as well as your SEO, how the keywords that affects all of it too. And we've been working with John and Galeka Plus a lot on those issues.
Awesome. And so Jax, I know you're kind of running both Amazon and your own Shopify, kind of doing that part yourself. How are you managing your marketing resources in terms when you're putting out content, putting out ads? Are you driving people to Amazon or to your Shopify, and how are you deciding between that?
Yeah, so you need to drive traffic on both ends, but we do focus mostly on our e-commerce now. So we did an influencer campaign this year, and we definitely drove traffic to our e-com. We had them all, have codes and discounts to try to drive the needle that way, because that's where we see the most growth for us for 2021. So this year, getting it set and getting it up and running, laying that initial groundwork was really important, so that next year we can really grow this thing and make e-com one of our biggest drivers, as well as continuing with our retail partners and helping them push our product through in different ways that we haven't done in the past. And we are also on Walmart.com as well, so focusing on all those different channels, because you do need all of them to grow. So, focusing in areas where you can. As a small team, sometimes things, like Christina was saying, like things fall through the cracks a little bit. So we just have to, focus. But right now, e-com is our focus, because we do see it as a big driver for 2021 in growing our brand to the next level. So that's kind of where our marketing, especially digital marketing resources, are going right now. Ads will start driving to our e-com. We're going to be doing more influencer campaigns driving to e-com. Our social drives to e-com. And then anything else we do in 2021, we'll have that e-com back, as well as then focusing on helping our retail partners as well. So.
No, I think that totally makes sense. And, that's one thing that I saw in my business too, and allocating, like when we're reaching out to new customers at like the awareness phase or consideration phase of the marketing funnel, where are we kind of driving them to? And each platform kind of has its strengths. But Jax, kind of staying on some of the marketing topics a little bit as well, how have you started building relationships differently with customers digitally versus when you could do it in store or in in-person events?
Yeah, so I think we're still trying to navigate that completely, but we're definitely trying to have those conversations with consumers. We have, we've grown our email list and trying to use that as another touch point and do a continuous touch point through our email, as well as like social and connecting with people like personally, we do, we always respond to messages very quickly, and we try to keep that customer service level pretty high. That way we're communicating with our customer as much as possible whenever they need us. And then getting them to like speak about the brand too. So using them as a way to, get out the word on our product. So using them as a brand ambassador, so to speak, so that whether we're gifting them, whether they're considered an influencer or not, we'll gift some people some product just to, if they're really high on the brand, because that'll help us get our mission and our word out. So that, helps us drive it. So hopefully that answered.
Yeah, I think that's good. And John, I want to kind of hop it over to you a little bit too, to see what you have really seen brands do kind of across the ones that you've worked with in terms of creating a brand that stands out online, because showing up in retail and in person is different often in terms of the execution and even strategy for digital.
Yeah, so I think brands that stand out online are often just brands that tell a really strong narrative and spend time investing in that narrative up front. Like I really learned that from Christina, right? But brands that storytelling is fairly relative, whether it's online or it's in market or it's individual, right? It's a kind of a typical way that humans learn, right? So, but it takes investment, and when doing that online, it takes an understanding, how do I tell that same story in a good way across a 1,000 different channels, right? Instead of just 3. And then how do I craft the content in the right pieces so it fits that channel? Because the story will remain the same, but I'll break it up into different pieces and tell a story, right? If you go right down to channel level, I'm going to tell a story that's different on TikTok than I am on Reels, and I'm going to tell it differently on Instagram. Same story, but again, different twist on it based on the channel. So getting that kind of core truth down and then experimenting across the channels is really, really what good brands do.
Yeah, I think that's key. And yeah, Christina, you were mentioning that in our conversation before too, about really understanding like who your brand is, what your brand voice is, and what you care about in the world and how you show up in the world. Can you talk about how you've figured that out for Milkademia and how you execute on that?
Sure. To be honest, I didn't figure it out. I would love to claim that I figured all this out, but I have a very smart, very passionate CEO who crafted the brand. And I came in about 2 years after the brand started, and my job was to impart, just to get it articulated on paper, because it's up in his head, and it's hard to get everyone to coalesce around something that's just up in one person's head, right? And as you grow and you're working with other partners, to be able to have everyone share in that. But so there was a lot of time spent on who is Milkademia and what is our voice. And there was actually a lot of pushback, and I was very surprised to learn from him when he talked about working with agencies early on, because he wanted to put a statement on our packages that said "moo is moot," and it is indeed on our package. And everyone tried to talk him off of it. You can't do that. You just can't say dairy is irrelevant. You're going to piss people off. Oh, you're going to get dairy upset. You're going to get stores upset. Milk is a lost leader. You don't want to say moo is moot. No one's going to take you in. And everyone just pushed back. And he was like, nope, that is not it. This is who the brand is, and we're going to do it. And so when I had conversations with him, I'm like, all right, so what drove that? Let's have that conversation, which led to our brand essence of tastefully defiant. And I think you see that in everything that we do. And so my job was, making sure that spilled into digital, spilled into the brand work we do, into social, that both aspects, the tasteful and the defiance, comes through. I think when I brought John and Galeka on board, that was one of the things I pushed at, both from a social and a digital perspective, of we need to do better here, and really get that to go through. Because, a lot of the stuff we're talking about is tactical and needs to be done in terms of, doing Instacart and things. But if you don't have a brand, it doesn't matter if I'm doing keywords on Instacart, right? That's just it's just kind of around the edges unless you have the core of that brand. And so every day, like that is kind of the focus, you know. It truly, it gets diminished by the tidal wave of to-do lists that I have of all those little things, but trying to keep focused on where we are and where we want to go as a brand, because that's what people are buying. And I can't discount how important that is to know the brand first.
Yeah, I think that's incredibly powerful. And, you know, a lot of the companies on the call right now are like single founders or small teams as well. And I think that's a huge challenge in terms of how do you take your founding vision and your like who you are personally, and then who you want the brand to be, and then keep those, you know, understanding the connection between them, but also like the brand develops its own personality into the world and how it shows up. But being able to communicate that can be challenging unless you do a lot of thought and try it and test it and learn how the brand actually grows within the world. So I love that point. I just want to pause here to say if anyone has questions, I know we've covered a lot so far, please feel free to write those in the chat and we will ask those as we go. So anything about branding, about marketing, about tactics, things that they've tried. If you have any questions at all, feel free to type those into the chat and I will ask those. So Christina, I want to go back.
Oh, can I go back to something just quickly?
Yeah, go for it.
You asked about earlier about building relationships digitally with customers. And I love Jax took it from a consumer point of view. And I thought I'd also take it from where I say customer as a retailer point of view, because that shifted. And I assume with especially people startups, that's been a big shift, because if you can't go to trade shows, that's where, you know, that's where we started, right? And that's how we made the relationship with the buyers. And that's been taken away from us. And, you know, so how do we build our story and our brand? And that was something that, I leaned on John and his team early on to be like, okay, we have this huge shift. What are we going to do? Our sales team cannot, you know, it's Zoom calls with buyers who are distracted. You can't see what's behind them. You're not having relationships. We can't get people to try our product. And so just as a quick pivot, because it may be helpful for other people, we developed a partner site on our website where we can give to our sales force, to buyers, to whoever, that they can go learn more about the company. We created an About Us video that's soon to be on there, but you can download all our sell sheets. You can download facts about us. You can go a little bit deeper. So all those things that we couldn't have, like trying to get that together, as well as training our sales people and brokers on how to do Zoom calls. You would think these are the little things, you know, sometimes we look at the big things, but there is also little things. We had salespeople who had never used a Zoom and they're trying to have a conversation with their broker and it keeps discontinuing. And they've got like 20 boxes of crap in their background. So, you know, how do you get the right backgrounds and things? So, you know, not just from a consumer point of view moving to digital, but you need to start thinking about how does that flow through the digital world from a sales perspective.
I love that. Is that a page that's public that can be shared?
It's milkademia.com/partners.
Okay, that's awesome. So I think that'll be great for
just as a side note, our site is in the middle of a redo, version 2 this year, John, right? Version 2?
Yeah. Version 3.
So it goes live on
Next
on Monday, but you should still be able to go to that site.
You will. I'll toss it in the chat for you guys.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. And I'll just pull up real quick so people can look through it. Because I think doing things like this is really powerful. I know a lot of times people ask, you know, how I'm not going to trade shows. Are trade shows worth it anymore? How can I build those relationships with partners? And I think this builds a really great way of connecting with buyers, with retailers, with distributors, and giving them all those tools so they can access these things on their own time without having to rely on email, right? Like everyone's so inundated with email and the back and forth that it's easy to get lost. So if they can do this in like the middle of the night when their kids are asleep and they can just like focus, then without having to call you, like they can just download everything that's on here. So I think that even little things like that is incredible. So thanks for sharing that perspective. And then one thing I wanted to touch on, we have a couple questions that came into, but Christina, you talked about Instacart. So talk about that relationship with Instacart, what's worked on there, what hasn't. I know there's like Instacart promo tools that can be effective. So talk about your experience with that.
So we've been, I'd say Instacart Lite. So we've been mainly just buying keywords for that, and then playing, because you can go in and change obviously your bids and optimize things, and looking at the keywords on Instacart versus the keywords on Amazon versus what searches on our, through Google, like understanding where people are and what they're looking for the right terms, and then buying accordingly. For us, it does take a little time because we go in, or that'd be me. I go in probably every day and take a quick look at it, especially during key months, right? So right now is holiday cooking time. And so our competitors are buying up keywords, right? And so what words or terms do we want to spend against versus we'll let that go because we just can't afford to play there. I'm not gonna, go up to $3 a keyword to get something. It's just not effective for us. But it's been really successful in driving milk sales, and a little bit less on some of our other products, but you can see it over time too. Like from April to now, like, in April, I'd say I was able with say $1,500 budget, just roughly, I could get like 4,000 sales. Now with $1,500, I can get about 10,000. So the more you do it, the more you learn it. And then you're also just, people are saving their shopping list. So that also helps, right? So they're just they're hitting the button to buy it again. And so you want to get on that. On Kroger, we've experimented a little bit with the displays. It's pretty expensive. It hasn't had the ROI. On the other hand, it's made Kroger happy. So there's a little bit of both, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah, totally. Okay, no, that's really good to hear, because I know a lot of people are like get excited about Instacart. They seem to be one of the online platforms that is driving turns and driving some velocity. And so brands are always curious on like how to get on and what's useful. I know they also have a program around like product placement. If you have sample sizes to do like product placement in some orders, and some people have found that effective, but it's also been fairly expensive to do.
Yes. Yes, we looked at that, and we don't have sample sizes. So we're like, oh, okay. So we had to pivot, and we just launched, it launched already, a sample on our site for a product giveaway. So to do something a little bit different versus using one of their tools.
Okay, and that kind of leads into the next question. So Alec and Maureen both asked around, what are the best strategies to effectively sample products during the digital age? And so Jax, do you have experience or doing that, or have you tried anything?
Yeah, so for in-store, we were a big brand we were big on doing demos and stuff. So that's, clearly not happening now. But with in-store, we've done a lot more couponing, especially with like neck hanger IRC, and kind of an aggressive one to get trial, so that it's a low risk. If you're going to try our water, we'll do like $1 off a bottle, to try to like drive it. And we've seen a lot of success with that, especially in our Atlanta markets. So that's been really great for getting the trial that we would have probably gotten through demoing, but through a coupon. And then digitally, trying to figure out a better way, because we don't have a smaller size than this. I have thought of ideas of doing it. If you have a brand that's like more like a chip where it's lighter to ship, you can do a big, send out 50,000 samples or whatever and get it into people's hands. With our water, it's just kind of, doing a lot more of partnering. We've done some like partnered events where they sent gift bags home with people, like digitally. That's been a nice way to get it sampled, as well as doing a lot of discounts digitally on our e-com. So whether it's 20% to get it to try, when you sign up on our website, you get an automatic 15% off if you give us your email and your phone number. And then kind of trialing it that way, as well as, when needed, we'll send, we send samples to people if they're really like into trying the brand and really reach out and have that passion, that we see and want to try it. We've been known to send people stuff just to get the trial and hopefully convert them to a sale. So.
Yeah, that's really great. Are there any partners that you found that do sampling or even like the boxes or anything like that you found effective that you're like, oh, this is like made the difference. We actually saw, new customers from it.
Yeah, so we've actually done a lot of, even before the pandemic, we did a lot of those like Tito box as a way to sample as well. So those have been amazing. We're also part of the Bite Well box, which is a curated dietitian's boxes. So we've seen a lot of action, especially on social. People will try it there, whatever flavor they get, and then typically, especially with the keto box, we have seen upticks in sales because they had a unique code as well, so we could track it, which gave them a nice percentage. But those boxes are well worth it if you find the right niche for whatever your product is. They can be really beneficial to drive new consumers and get into those niches. So for us, keto has been really big for us. So yeah.
No, that's awesome. Christina, how about you? Anything that you've been able to do to get consumer trial during this time?
So that is one of our big problems, right? Or opportunities. But, again, we were doing sampling, and when we sample our product, it's amazing to see someone react to it, because there are people who are like macadamia milk and they're afraid, right? You give them to taste it and the look on their face, it's immediate, and they're like, whoa, this is really good. And you're like, yeah, really, it is. So how do you get that? And it's something we had a lot of conversations with our partners, John, our agency, If Not Now, about how do we sample in an age when we don't sample. And again, we're breaking a campaign on Monday where we went to 7 different people, 6 different households, and gave them a blind tasting. They didn't know what they were going to taste, and they agreed to it. I don't know if I would be so brave. They didn't know if it was going to be gravy to like hot sauce, right? And so we recorded their experience of sampling it. And then we're going to be using that as a way to talk about the sampling. But more tactically, I think I mentioned we have a partnership with a company called Arcart, who is helping facilitate the free trial on our website. So basically, you buy the product, you upload your receipt, and we give you the money back for it. And then we also get all the information from the receipt, right? So we get all their, other brands that they're buying, how much they spend, so there's a lot of information that we can glean from that receipt, but we can fulfill it that way. So we're testing it out on one product, and if it goes well, we're going to test it out on more of our products, again, as a way to get trial. We try not to do too much couponing, although our sales team constantly pushes that, but we don't want to discount the product as much. I'd rather give free trial than a discount. So that's been some of a challenge. So I think that'll be interesting. We're also launching a promotional section to the site where you can buy different items, and one of the things you can buy is a sample, right? So at a really low price, we'll give you 2 of the milks and a really cool like Milkademia glass. Use that also for trial and sampling. And then clearly with Amazon, we have different days that we push discounts in terms of hoping that we're getting the trial.
Yeah, I love those ideas. I think they're super smart. I know with T-Squares too, we offer a snack bar, so it's a lot easier. Our product's really lightweight. We offer a free trial, just pay for shipping and handling, which we're able to get the pricing low enough where essentially break even on all the trial units that we send. And so that was a really great way for us to get that new customer trial during that time.
Yeah.
John and Alex, anything that you guys have seen from even as a consumer or just from your other clients that you've worked with or things that you're working on?
John, what do you think about this one, buddy?
I mean, I think candidly, right, like the ideas that Christina went through are a lot of the stuff that we're playing together. And I think there's what I like is the mix of traditional, right, where you're getting, a coupon and some discounts across the board, and then experimental kind of in between with you upload a receipt and you get your money back on PayPal, to beyond now the creative where we're going to put some promotion behind this and inspire people to do that. And I think if we just think about it in those 3 buckets, there's a mix of ideas that can spider off from there.
Yeah, I think that's like some of those experimental things are really powerful because there's a lot of incumbents who are in the space who have like couponing and things, but they're very traditional and they don't always work. And so, I love all the experimental things that you're helping to build out, John, in terms of like, scanning coupons and getting refunds that way. And then being able to, have a new tool instead of those really large, expensive companies.
Yeah, exactly. And the only other thing I'd add, right, like is some of our clients that have subscription programs, right? They have subscriptions to their drink or their juice. It's a really nice way when a new product comes out to surprise bundle it, right? The element of surprise goes really well with sampling too. And people are just like, oh, that's so cool. And they can go and learn about it, and we'll track them down the funnel and market away to them.
Yeah, I totally agree. Oh, oops, sorry. I was going to say, this afternoon, I'm going into the office to pack up 50 samples for people who have no idea they're getting them. We had discontinued a flavor of our macadamia fudge creamer, and we had people just like bemoan the fact that we were doing that. So we sent them some of the last product that we had. And so now I'm going to follow up and surprise them with 2 new creamer flavors. They have no idea. But again, it's to, surprise, delight. Hopefully they'll talk about it. They'll post about it. So finding those little moments, and I think Jack's talked about that too, are really important.
Yeah, I was gonna just add, we launched 2 new flavors, and to some of our customers, we definitely surprised them with an extra case here and there, so they could try out our 2 new flavors, which helped us get some feedback on the flavor and get it into their hands too, which was a nice surprise for them. So yeah, I love the surprise and delight for customers. It always is a nice thing to get.
Yeah, I think that's something that's super important because there's so much attention on gaining new customers and like pumping more customers into that funnel. But it's, in my opinion, especially on e-com, like more important to nurture your existing customers because it's so much easier and less expensive to get them to buy another case or maybe twice as often than it is to get someone to try your product for the first time. And so, really building out strategies around engaging your existing customers. And I think like those surprise samples and those moments plays a huge role in that.
Absolutely.
So Michelle had a question about how is the conversation around sustainable packaging interacting with your brand and consumers?
Yeah, a great deal. So sustainable packaging is something we talk about all the time. And there gets a lot of press happens when a new package got developed and all this press gets, spread out and we're like, yes, we can do that. And then really it's just a prototype and you actually can't commercialize it. You can't run it through a factory, all those things that, you don't hear about. We obviously our main product is milk, which is a liquid, and liquid and paper don't have a great love affair. And so, we need a binder, something, our barrier to separate those. We do use Tetra Pak. It is somewhat recyclable. I mean, we can talk about it being recyclable in certain facilities, but right now, the majority of anything that we toss is not recyclable. I mean, even though it's a 1, the majority of that is not. So we continue to push on that. We found a plastic tub for our butters that's made with 100% post recycled, including sea plastic. And we got very excited about it, and then it melted in the factory. So again, it's an ongoing conversation because it does matter to not only people who buy us, but it matters greatly to us. We are about the environment. It's the eco consciousness is embedded into who we are. We look for ingredients that don't hurt the environment. So we try not to use anything with soy because of deforestation, mostly for animal grazing for soy, but we don't use any products with palm oil. We try to find ingredients that are regeneratively farmed. And so then packaging is an extension of that. It's just very, very hard, but we continue to always have those conversations.
Yeah, I think that's a huge challenge in food, and especially during the pandemic when there's a lot more necessity for single serve packaging as well. And I know that's playing a huge role in that. So a question from Consuelo. She asks, any recommendations on how to grow your email subscriber list?
Yeah, I can take this. So we grew our email subscriber list through a lot of giveaways and doing more like sweepstake giveaways, which has been really beneficial for us. Up until when we were just on Amazon, you don't get that customer data of email. So it's, you're starting from ground zero essentially. So we decided to just do some sweepstakes to get some emails to kind of build up. Now we do have customers in there too, so it's a nice mix, especially because people like to enter things. But Dojo Mojo is a platform that I have recommended and will continue to recommend. We also use them for our SMS platform. And they're continuing to grow and have new features all the time, but they do a ton of sweepstakes. We do a lot of health and wellness sweepstakes so that we're getting customer lists that are interested in products like ours. And you can enter, you can do them however you want. There's a ton of themes. You can do them often, you can do them not so often. But we were able to grow our list from 0 to 40,000 in like a year, which was amazing for us. And we're getting some of those converted now that we have our own e-commerce. So we did it kind of before we started e-com, just to start with a base. So when we launched e-com, we had somewhere to like launch it with. And then we've, slowly converting them into consumers. Originally, we did send them to Amazon, and now we're trying to keep them for ourselves. So I think you're muted, Jordan.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I've used Dojo Mojo before too. And so for those, what they allow you to do is find other like-minded partners, and you essentially will partner like 3 or 4 brands, and then you all agree to send out like a promoted email to your email list, and then those people that like participate, you share your email list with each other. So especially as a small brand, it's a great way to partner someone who might have 10,000 or 15,000 subscribers. Essentially, you can get their email subscribers. So I think one thing that's interesting I found is like, of course, like a lot of people just enter sweepstakes and giveaways and don't always buy. So you do get some noise, but by doing it enough, you can filter out the people who are actually likely to purchase.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing now, is trying to filter who is actually going to be, buying us. And we, and we have gotten, interaction from people that we grabbed from our first campaign, and they're now starting to really interact with the brand via email, which is great. So if we can keep them motivated, keep them interacting, send them through a funnel, and then hopefully convert them to a sale. But yeah, it's at least a starting point if you have no emails or want to grow your email list. We also, in the beginning when we had no emails, because you do have to send it out to someone, we ran digital ads with people we wanted to target that would fit for that theme of the giveaway, as well as our brand. So we were able to hit numbers when we didn't have the emails, using our social, posting it on social, and then running digital ads on social media.
Yeah, I think just for those who are going about it, like I think the biggest thing of getting emails is just asking and having something of value to provide. And so like having email like pop-ups on your website to sign up for an email list to give them exclusive offers. You can even message your followers on social of providing a discount to them for like 10% off, or you can, if you're really trying to push sales and the email collection, you can do like 30-40% off just to really get that customer trial going and see it as a trial expense. And so there's a lot of really cool ways that you can actually get those email addresses. And then I think the other thing that's really tough for smaller brands or that, right, like it still takes a lot of consumers 7, 8, 10 touch points to see a brand before they'll actually purchase your product. And so you might send like 4 emails and you get no purchases, and you're like, well, am I just wasting money? I'm like having them on my email list. But by eventually kind of building up that constant messaging, maybe they see you on social later, they'll be more likely to hopefully purchase. And some people never will, but maybe they'll tell someone else about you.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So we also have a question around, let me find it, third-party logistics companies. So has anyone had any good third-party logistics companies that you've really liked? And then Alec, I'll let you know. So if you're interested and want to join Foodbevy as a member, we do have a list of third-party logistics companies across the US as well. But have any of you had any like rock star companies you want to promote?
From an ecom perspective?
Yeah.
I'd let Jax, since we don't do our own ecom.
Yeah, so for our own ecom, we just switched over to a new warehouse fulfillment center, and I am blanking on their name at the moment, but I will follow up with you guys on that. But for Amazon, we use Whitebox, which has been really successful for us. And they do more things than just Amazon, but for our Amazon fulfillment, they're pretty good for that.
Awesome. Someone just mentioned there's e-commerce world fulfillment in St. Petersburg, Florida. But as I mentioned too, we also have a list at foodbevy.com to do that. Awesome. Any other questions that people have in the for our two guests? Add them to the chat. Let me take a look. So Tiffany asked a question. So for early stage CPG brands with a small budget, what are some services or functions, thinking like branding, packaging, ads, that you would absolutely recommend spending money on?
So I think I answered that in the chat, but I said if I had only a limited budget, number one would be a branding agency, which will help you figure out your brand and your packaging. Packaging is your number one touch point, will always be, and it's where you can tell your story. And go deep with consumers about who you are. So before you do anything else, I think I keep reiterating this, but know your brand, know who you are, and then get that pack right. I think it'll pay off in the long run as you move then to digital, as you move then to doing more ad like objects or social or any of those things. If you know who you are, then you can start to spread your voice.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Christina on that. If you don't know who you are, you have nowhere to go. So you need to hone in on who you are, what you are, get all that right, and then start spreading your wings, whether it's digitally or elsewhere. But a second stop would be then digital, I would recommend, after you get your branding down correct.
So I'm curious too, a big question that has come up recently is all about like finding your tribe or building your tribe. And so what's your take on that? And from it, like, who are your customers? Who are the people that love Hello Water, love Milkademia? And have you been able to like define who they are and build relationships with them?
Jax, you want to take that first?
Sure. Yeah. So we, from day one, that's how we built our social media. We haven't pumped a ton of money into it. We wanted to get those advocates and those brand advocates, and started, with friends and family, and then growing it out from there. So our social media has grown organically because of that. Which is why we don't sit super high on it, but we're growing because we're trying to get the right people on it instead of just anyone who will click like. So I think that's also important for us to get those advocates, but then starting small and working with those core people and getting the message out there and having them spread the word, and then that's how it grows. And so that's what we've done to try to started with social, got the name out there, and then whether it's, gifting it to some micro influencers or nano influencers, and kind of growing our message from there so that we're organically growing instead of just like filing a ton of things into it. So hopefully that kind of makes sense.
And I would say on our end, we have the balkanization of consumers is what I'll call it. So we have lots of little tribes, and they kind of fight amongst themselves, right? So we have the people who are keto, because macadamias are great keto. And so we were in Keto Crate and some of the other things. So we have a lot of keto people who eat a ton of meat. And then we have our diehard vegans, right, who do not like the keto people. And then we have our lactose intolerant, but still eat meat. We have our reducitarians, our flexitarians. We have our healthy people. We have the people who just are like trendy people. And so plant milk is trendy right now. So we have all these different tribes. And so trying not to cater to all the different tribes, but again, catering to who we are. and letting them come to us is where we stayed.
Yeah, we've done similar to that. We have groupings. We have moms that love it. Their kids like it. They give it to their kids because there's no sugar. So we win there. Keto. We found gluten-free people because they're a lot of fiber deficiency with gluten-free diets. And ours is like naturally gluten-free. So we've found a big niche there. And then even with the F Factor diet, which then is a completely different ball of wax compared to keto. So like, and they don't, same thing. It's like, they don't always agree, but they like us. And so they come to us and we support that.
Oh, that's so funny. John, have you seen that too, where you've had to like help brands navigate that, like the messaging and design around like, how do you be who you are without like pissing off people too, especially if you have contradictory customers?
Never. People are all easy to work with and have the same point of view, and but the short answer to that
right
is
there, John.
that too. Just among clients and among customers. I mean, that's kind of the fun of it, right? Is figuring that out. Whether it's figuring out those clusters and figuring out how they change, because the neat thing about modern marketing is those groups change so fast. And they change for lots of reasons, whether that be more exposure to different media, time, cultural influences, but those groups, they come together really fast, and over doing this for 20 years, they come together really fast and they go apart really fast. It's happened over the past 6 years faster than ever, that these little groups and clusters form that we need to market to, and if we don't own it, then we potentially lose out. But we need to recognize that they're much more ethereal, if you will.
Yeah, I love that. Well, we're coming up on the end of time here, so I just want to thank everyone so much for joining today. Hopefully you learned some really great nuggets on how to help your brand stand out online. Christina, Jax, Alex, John, thank you so much for everything today. I loved all the insights, and especially the kind of specific nuggets. Everyone was writing down like Dojo Mojo. It's like, I gotta check that out, because like some tools that we use every day, like other people have never heard of, but might make a world of difference from them. So definitely appreciate that. And to reiterate what Alex was mentioning earlier as well, Galeka Plus is putting together some really great resources on how like branding overall, and some useful tips and tools that you'll be able to use. So we'll send those out to you via email, and check those out at foodbevy.com, so you can learn more and help those with your brand. But we're going to make those as helpful and useful and actionable as possible for you. So keep an eye out for that. And then also be sure to check out foodbevy.com/events for upcoming events that we have going on. We actually have one with talking about fundraising using equity crowdfunding, which is going to be really exciting. So if you've ever looked at raising capital right now and trying to look for alternatives beyond going directly to individual angel investors, this will be a really great event for you to join. So thank you so much. We'll send an email with a recap of this presentation, so you can watch and check back anything that you've missed. If you have any questions for myself or for any of the panelists, feel free to shoot those to me, hello@foodbevy.com, and I'll help direct you to each and every one. If you are looking to invest in branding, Alex at the Galeka team will be happy to talk with you about what that process looks like. So thanks so much, everyone. Have a great Friday and a great weekend, and looking forward to seeing your faces soon.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.